4, 3, 2. And welcome back to a wonderful episode of No Buts About It. It is beautiful outside. So if you are watching this inside and you have the means to go outside and listen to this, you should go outside if it's beautiful where you're at. I'll wait. Okay. You should have. I think that was enough time for you to go outside by now. So Chus is in his basement in Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania, that he had to break into. We were supposed to record at 1 p.m. and I got a text at 12:45, and it was like, "Hey, I'm locked out of my basement." What happened? What happened, Chus? And how did you get back into your basement?
So I don't really know how it happened because I don't ever lock the door because there's really no reason to down here. I mean, I have the door shut because I also have a cat and I have a bird, as many know, and I don't want the cat getting in here and trying to attack said bird. So I have the door shut, but I have no reason to lock it because it's not like I'm hiding anything down here. So there's no reason to lock it anyway. But whenever I came out of the room earlier at like 11:30, 11:45, went upstairs, did a couple things, came back down, the door was locked. So I must have accidentally pressed the button or something, or bumped it, or something went wrong because I hardly ever lock the door. So for it to be locked is just so rare and unnatural. So I used a little I forget what they're called, but I used it and to help get the door pushed open. My mother and I fixed it, more or less. We had to use a I can't think of the name, but it's like a little tool. It's got like a little. It looks almost like an L, almost. I wish I could show you because I don't have it, but yeah, it looked like a little L, and I don't remember the name right now. But yeah, we stuck in it because like we couldn't remove the hinges off the door from the other side because the hinges are over here. There's no windows down here, so you can't break into a window, and there's no other door. And the lock is on this side, and there's no screws on the other side of the doorknob, just this little tiny hole. So, and we had to stick that thing inside of it and press the button a bunch of times, or at least try to, and eventually it popped open. But yeah, I was going to break down the door, but we decided not to. It's very dangerous and also a lot of money wasted if we can just get it unlocked. And we did. I still don't know how it happened, but yeah. So that we're back in though. We're back in. So that's all that matters.
Right. Chus is back in his basement in Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania. Other big news we finally have gotten rid of Dan Snyder. Dan Snyder is no longer an NFL team owner. A lot of people thought it was going to Jeff Bezos, but Jeff Bezos said yesterday he wasn't interested anymore. And guess who bought it? Philadelphia 76ers co-owner Josh Harris has bought the Washington Commanders for $6 billion. So he's got some experience with professional sports teams. And now he owns the Washington Commanders, one of the struggling franchises in the NFL, for $6 billion. That's insane. That's an insane number. I can't even fathom what that would look like written out. That's big money. Hopefully hopefully Josh Harris is able to turn around the team, make them competitive. Also, apparently Magic Johnson is a part of the ownership group that bought the team. So, lots of big names coming to Washington to try to fix the Commanders. We'll have to see what happens, how they do, whether there's some success there with Sam Howell and Jacoby Brissett leading the charge at the quarterback position. What do you think about that? Are you glad Dan Snyder's gone? I assume you are. Most people are.
Yeah, I mean, I'm definitely. Well, also going back real quick to the door thing, I just want to elaborate. It was called an Allen key, just so you know. It's an Allen key. I was trying to explain. I could not remember for the life of me. It's an Allen key. But
so we need the Allen key sponsorship.
Yeah, we need an Allen key sponsorship, especially for me because I use a really skinny Allen key to stick it into this. I wish I could show you, but it's just this tiny little thing in the knob, and there's just no way to get it off. But anyway, back to Dan Snyder, back to the show. Pretty glad that he's gone. I think it'll give like a fresh start for the organization. just because, it's kind of been, I wouldn't call it necessarily like a poverty franchise as some people have called it, but it's definitely been a franchise that has struggled. Granted, like they've had seasons in which, the one season they went on to play with Tampa Bay in the first round of the playoffs not too long ago. It was like, the charge was led by Heineke, I believe it was back then.
Who's now a Falcon.
Yeah, so it's not like it's not like they've had like bad luck necessarily. I mean, they're like they're like a decent team, but like they've always just kind of struggled to make playoffs and stuff. But I think one of the things that really is an issue in Washington that I think needs to be addressed, and I hope that the new owners do this, is the stadium. FedEx Field is atrocious and it needs fixed. And I can guarantee that anybody that's ever been there or is a fan of the Commanders and that lives in the area probably would agree with me, because that is definitely one of the worst stadiums that I have. I've never been inside of it, but physically have seen in pictures and stuff like that, and have heard stories from other people that are like, yeah, I went to the Commanders game and it sucked because the seats and the style was just bad. So,
well, not even other people necessarily. Well, I'm sure you have heard from other people, but Jalen Hurts, the Philadelphia Eagles quarterback, was it last season or 2 seasons ago? That security gate fell. As he was walking into the locker room, and like a bunch of people and the gate fell like on top of Jalen Hurts. And Jalen Hurts wrote the Washington Commanders a letter, and he was like, "Hey guys, you got to fix this. This is ridiculous. Why is this happening?" The fact that the opposing quarterback, one of your division rivals quarterbacks, is writing you a letter to say, "Hey, fix your stuff."
It's bad.
That's bad. That's not a good look. Hopefully Josh Harris is able to turn it around. But yeah.
But like you look up that stadium, and like it's on so many things, and like my friends, and like I said, have gone to different, or like people that I know that are friends of mine that have gone to these games, have told me like in the past, whether it's for whatever game or whatnot, is just the stadium needs a ton of renovation. And it's not even that like necessarily new of a stadium, but I mean, I believe it's like almost the same age range as like Acrisure Stadium now, but like an Acrisure Stadium, I think isn't that bad of a stadium. I mean, I feel like it definitely has some wear on it, but it definitely isn't as bad as FedEx Field. And
FedEx Field was built in 1997.
Yes. And
Acrisure,
I think 01 maybe.
Yep. 801, August 18, 2001.
Yeah. So not too far off in age, but the fact that like the Steelers organization is still making renovations and the stadium is still, surviving and looking good. And, it's still a pretty solid stadium, and it's been, it's only a couple years difference as FedEx Field, and FedEx Field is atrocious. Like I remember they had some water main break. Do you remember that? I don't know if you remember.
Yeah, dude,
water
it
main
wasn't
break.
A water main. It was their sewer pipes.
Yeah, like just
people were sitting on the game and they got literal crap, like
flying
on them.
It was disgusting. Like it's how do you let that happen in a football stadium? And like Dan Snyder did really absolutely nothing to fix it. And I think it goes deeper than just the players and the organization and who you bring in. It goes as deep as like stadiums and just anything. I think a new fresh face or faces in the ownership is going to be key for the Commanders going forward. And hopefully they at this point get a new stadium, but right now I don't think there's any plans for the Commanders to get a stadium. I think right now it's just Buffalo, Titans, and Chicago, I believe.
Yeah,
right now are like the ones that have confirmed new stadiums.
Honestly, for now, I would just work on fixing what you've got, make it something that the players can at least be somewhat proud to play in, and then rebuild your fan base, because I mean they're in a whole change of everything. Everyone hates the Commanders right now. There's no reason to root for them.
Have you met a Commanders fan? Because I've never met a Commanders fan.
Yes. I've met one.
Okay.
Yes. But he refuses to call them the Commanders. He calls them the Redskins still. Because he said the Commanders have given him nothing to be proud of. But the Redskins have.
Okay. I mean, I guess that's like the Cleveland Indians, Guardians type thing. Yeah, and I get it.
But yeah, it's true though. There's like nothing. You don't even want to go to the games. He said he went to the games and he was like starting to root for the other team.
Yeah, that's bad.
give us some infrastructure, give us something to like be proud to be playing in, start rebuilding a fan base. Because like NFL fans will show up.
Oh, absolutely.
It's a fun time.
I mean, even if it's not like
Browns, when the Browns and Lions went 0-16, the fans were still showing up. They had paper bags on their head, but they still showed up.
Yeah, but nobody wants to pay, and I remember there was a whole scandal at one point where Commanders tickets were less than freaking Frozen tickets at one point. So some of these tickets were going for like $8, and Frozen tickets were coming out that weekend. It was like Frozen 2, and they were like $14.50, and people were trying to sell Commanders tickets for $7. I was like, that's ridiculous. But like that's the type of situation that they're in. It's like, how do you let that happen? It's football. It's not like you're like baseball, like there's 81 home games, so obviously you're going to naturally have some games that you're going to sell tickets for $10, $8, maybe $15. I mean, same thing with basketball and even hockey in some aspects, depending on how bad or good the team is playing. But no matter how bad the football team is playing, there is only 8 to 9 home games a season for the NFL if you don't include playoffs and how a team would do in playoffs and where they rank. But like 8 to 9 home games, like, come on, it should still be over 50. Like, not like $7. Like, there is a clear issue in the Commanders organization, and I'm glad that they have gotten a new owner. And I'm sure everybody is probably just thanking everybody ever that
the other owners were saying like, we need to get this guy out of here. It's got to be bad for the other owners to turn on one of their own. But let's move on from there. Other big news coming out of the NFC East, and that is that Mr. Saquon Barkley is refusing to sign his franchise tag and thus will not be participating in team practices, which start this Monday. This is a big deal because when free agency was starting to open up, it was like, oh, Daniel Jones is going to be walking. They're not going to give him all the money that he wanted. He wanted like something. It was like $45 million or something. I think he ended up getting like $40 million, if I remember correctly.
Something like that.
And so Giants fans were super excited. They're like, sweet, we got this guy paid. Maybe overpaid a bit for him, but that's okay because we're going to keep Saquon on the franchise tag. Well, Saquon is saying no. Saquon is saying, hey, no, that's not how this works. I want to get paid a little bit more. Another guy who's also working on his contract situation for the Giants is Dexter Lawrence. So 2 big names coming out of New York that might not be on the team this upcoming season. I'm kind of excited for the draft now, not even for like the rookies. Like, obviously I'm excited for the rookies, but I think draft night is going to bring us a lot of trades. We might get a Saquon Barkley trade, might get a Derrick Henry trade. We could see Austin Eckler being traded, Joe Mixon, lots of running backs being traded. Lamar Jackson's still out there as a possibility to be traded.
That Aaron Rodgers trade still hasn't gone through yet. We're still waiting on that.
I read an article that somehow Aaron Rodgers going public with what he wanted is what led to the trade not going through yet. That didn't really make sense to me.
Nah, it doesn't make any sense.
But I guess they haven't talked in weeks about it.
Oh, so, wow.
But I don't want to go too deep into this, but I don't see why the Packers wouldn't trade Aaron Rodgers. At least get something for him because he's not going to want to play anymore for them.
But with the Giants, though, I mean, what do you think? Do you think Saquon will sit out then, or do you what do you think Saquon will do? Because we know in the 2 history of the running backs that did sit out that I think of in the last couple of years, being Melvin Gordon and Le'Veon Bell sitting out, their careers literally plummeted, even sitting out half a season. And then Le'Veon Bell sitting out a full season. Do you think that this would – now, I don't think this would benefit Saquon at all for sitting out. So do you think he would just try to declare trade? Because, like, at that point, like, he's not signing the franchise tag. He's not signing the franchise tag. So what do they expect? Do they expect to make him a new contract? Like, what is the deal in New York? Especially with Saquon, because they're very big on Saquon to help run that that offense. So
I'm thinking new contract or trade.
But yeah, I guess, I mean, in his best interest, it should be, I won't play unless I'm traded, but I want to work out a contract. but he should probably get that rolling as soon as possible, because if he sits out from now until November, homie is going to be literally rusty as all heck. Like, you can't tell me that kid isn't going to be rusty, no matter how young or old he is. So they should, if I was the Giants and they figured he was worth it, I would definitely try a contract extension at some point, or wait 3 weeks and try to trade him during the draft and see if you can get some picks.
So Saquon's interesting because he's a running back, first of all, and the league has shown that they really don't want to pay running backs. That's proven with guys like Derrick Henry being up for trade, Austin Eckler, all these star guys up for trade because the teams don't want to pay him. Saquon has had injury issues in the past, and he is younger than both Eckler and Henry. Henry was 2016. Eckler was an undrafted free agent from the 2017 draft. So I believe Saquon was 2018. So they're all kind of about the same age, but Saquon is a little bit younger as far as league experience goes. Saquon's a stud on the field, but he has an injury history. So him sitting out, I don't think that bodes well for him. Because sitting out, it says, hey, and I understand, like, you don't want to get injured when you're not being paid what you feel like you should be getting paid. I understand that 100%. But at the same time, you're kind of telling the league, like, I'm not going to put it all in for the team that I am playing for, especially in a situation where the NFL isn't really looking at paying running backs right now. They're paying quarterbacks. They're paying receivers. They don't want to pay running backs. If they don't have a running back, they'll say, let's go to the draft and we can get a new one.
Because I was going to say, with running backs, I feel like it's a lot easier to replace running backs nowadays in the draft than it has been in a while. Because, like, I mean, you go to Kansas City, I mean, those running backs that they have, you know, you have Pacheco, like, and they're just running all over and like, they're young bucks. Like, they didn't even need like a Derrick Henry or a Christian McCaffrey to help them, you know, when they just picked up these young guys. And I think that's the thing. I feel like a lot of these teams are not really looking to, you know, keep their running backs on, because I mean, running backs do get a lot of wear and tear. I mean, wide receivers run around all over the place and then catch balls and run away. Whereas running backs, they have to run through the O-line and they have to run through and break all those tackles. There's a lot of wear and tear that running backs take compared to wide receivers, I feel like. I mean, granted, I know they all take their own wear and tear. I mean, running, planting, and all of that stuff, you know, is all goes into a wide receiver. But I feel like in a situation with running backs, I feel like it's definitely a lot easier to replace them than it is wide receivers, because there's been a lot of wide receivers out there that they'll draft in like a second or third round or something like that, and they won't end up doing anything. Or there'll be a fourth wide receiver just because they don't meet the criteria of the first three, you know?
Yeah, yeah, kind of like what I was saying, young shelf life with running backs. I'm glad you brought up the Kansas City Chiefs, because Clyde Edwards-Helaire, he was 2020 rookie. He was the same draft class as Joe Burrow. We haven't seen him.
Yeah,
and
what happened?
It's looking like they're already getting moved on from him. And now Isaiah Pacheco is playing in the Super Bowl. Everyone's looking at him as the new running back in Kansas City. And he's that was his first year. He was a rookie.
Mm-hmm.
So that just shows Najee Harris.
Great.
You guys, Steelers lost James Conner. They said, okay, we'll go to the draft. They got Najee Harris. Bengals are still hanging with Mixon, but I wouldn't be surprised if the Bengals draft a running back. If Jamar Gibbs is there in the second round, I think they get Jamar Gibbs.
Yeah, I think the Steelers are just going to wait out Najee's contract, and I think then they're going to go back to the draft and draft another running back, just because I think he's been, for Najee, I think he's just been a little like inconsistent, you know, just because of his injuries and stuff. I mean, when he's healthy, he's really good, but when he's not healthy, he struggles. And I think that, you know, it kind of just goes back to that same concept that a lot of these teams are looking at the draft for the future and not necessarily signing running backs as their starters. Like, there are teams that are, obviously. There's, you know, you have, you know, once James Conner left, he went to Arizona. Arizona picked him up and they made him a running back. Like, they're one of their top running backs. But I mean, not every team is like that. Not every team is going out of their way to sign these big name running backs, because you could take the same amount of risk on a 28-year-old running back that had a great season, or use one of your draft picks and draft a running back in the 3rd or 4th round. It might not cost you as much, and he ends up being a stud. I mean, you make or break and just let it work. I mean, even our backup Jalen Warren, I mean, like he's pretty dang good for just being like a guy that takes 30% of the snaps.
So first round, the only running back I've really seen mocked for the first round is Bijan Robinson, one of the biggest non-quarterback names in this draft. So I was looking at what picks do the Giants have. And he has been, I've seen him going to the Dallas Cowboys as a replacement for Ezekiel Elliott. And the Dallas Cowboys would have number 26 unless they trade up. So this is interesting because the Giants would have 25. So the Giants could, unless the Dallas Cowboys trade up, get Bijan Robinson as a Saquon Barkley replacement.
I think it would work better for the Giants than it would the Cowboys, just because the Cowboys, even getting rid of Zeke, they still have Pollard. So
right, but you want someone in case Pollard goes down, and Pollard and Bijan have 2 different games.
I know, but then at that point, it kind of helps, but you already have Pollard as like a running back 1 type thing. You don't necessarily need to put somebody above Pollard. It would be like the Chargers like a couple years ago, like how they had Melvin Gordon and then Austin Eckler, and then they moved on from Melvin Gordon. They had Austin Eckler as their next starter, who was running back 2, moved up to running back 1. It'd be like them drafting in a later, like instead of them drafting whoever, they decide to draft like a Najee Harris to replace Austin Eckler and put Austin Eckler back at 2. You don't really need to do that. You can.
I don't think you would be saying Bijan is better than Tony Pollard. I think you would be saying we have Bijan for like our power, like as a power back that we need, who kind of like if it's 3rd and 2 or something,
it could
and
work.
We have a guy who can go up the middle. Because that Bijan's game, from what I've seen of him, he's very aggressive. He's kind of that Derrick Henry type with the power, and he's just going to like run through and knock you down. Whereas Tony Pollard seems to be more elusive. He's shaky. He's going to slip past you.
Mm-hmm.
So 2 different games. And that also has the advantage of what I thought was beautiful that Kyle Shanahan was able to do in San Francisco, and why I love the Christian McCaffrey trade so much, as I've said multiple times, and I will continue to allude to this trade. It splits your touches, which limits the amount of injury you get. One of Christian McCaffrey's biggest problems was he was kind of a power back, but he was also elusive. But he was touching the ball pretty much every play, and he was getting hit every play. And that just doesn't work. So I don't want Tony Pollard touching the ball every play, and I don't want Bijan Robinson, hypothetically, with the Cowboys touching the ball every play. I don't want Joe Mixon with the Bengals touching the ball every play. I don't want any running back touching the ball every play, just because it wears down on you. You get hurt, and then you lose them midway through the season. And there's some talented guys out there who aren't able to live up to their full potential because of that. Christian McCaffrey being one of them. Every year it was, Christian McCaffrey is a top running back in the league until he gets hurt week 8.
Yeah, I mean, but that's how it is, and that's. That's kind of what I talked about on the last show with Odell getting his ACL to be torn in week 12. I mean, it's just, yeah.
Well, the same thing's going to happen with Odell. The same thing's going to happen in Baltimore, I think, because he's like the number 1 guy. I saw a thing that like his contract, I think it was, he gets $1 million if he leads the league in touchdown, or not the league, the team in touchdowns, or he gets, I think it was 9 touchdowns or something. He gets $1 million. Then if he leads, or if he has 1,000 yards, he gets $1 million. And then if he has like over 60 receptions, I think it was, he gets $1 million. And then if he leads the team in any of those categories, he gets $1 million. So say he only gets 8 touchdowns, but that's the most on the team, he would get $1 million.
So he could get an extra $4 million bonus.
Well, he's $15 million guaranteed, and he's $18 million is the total contract. So if he hits all 3 of those, he'll get $3 million.
Yeah, that's interesting.
So I'm sure
Odell's going to be working so hard that when he plants wrong, he's going to tear his Achilles.
Again. Or I guess it was an ACL last time, wasn't it?
I think it was ACL. Yeah.
Yeah.
I was thinking of Des Bryant, who went in. You remember that? He tore his Achilles twice.
I just
crazy. I felt bad for Des, but still.
Yeah, that's why if I'm Saquon, I'm not holding out because the Giants will replace you. They'll replace you so fast. That's the way they're viewing it, whether it's through trade or with Bijan Robinson. They're in position where they can do it, I think. And I'm sure they would love to steal a pick from their division rival. So other big news, and I hate the way that the NFL sent out the notification for this. They said Falcons trade for third overall pick. That was what it said. What actually happened was the Falcons traded a 5th round pick for Lions cornerback Jeff Okudah, who was the 3rd overall pick in 2020. So behind Joe Burrow and Chase Young. And the Falcons are going to be good. I am liking the Falcons for the NFC. Between the Falcons and the Panthers, the NFC South is going to be interesting, I think. Their defense, at least, is going to be insane. Your Wi-Fi is crashing it. Mr. Lentz, this is a public service announcement. The Wi-Fi is crap.
Yeah.
Just wanted me to say that on the last show, and I didn't.
Well, I actually didn't want to say that, but yeah, I lagged that entire 30
You texted. Don't say I didn't want to say it. You texted me.
Oh, I said the Wi-Fi was crap, but I didn't want you to say it on the show. But I mean, that's fine. Well, he'll listen to it, but I mean, it's a work in progress.
It's laggy.
Yeah,
it's okay though. Yeah, but the Falcons are trading a 5th round pick for Lions cornerback Jeff Okudah per his agency. I think the Falcons robbed the Lions on that one.
Yeah, I don't think. Yeah, I think it's. I think the Falcons were. I think that's a solid trade, in my opinion.
Dude, that secondary is. They got Jesse Bates down there. They got Jeff Okudah down there.
Atlanta might be a lot better than we think. I mean, it's just keep Atlanta on your radar. I think the only thing that they're struggling with right now is figuring out their offense now. But I think one piece at a time, I think they could be really solid.
Might need to draft Atlanta's defense in fantasy because
we can do a fantasy football segment come fantasy football time.
They got AJ Terrell down there with Jeff Okudah, Jesse Bates. Oh man, I'm excited for the Falcons. They've suffered so much and they deserve something. Devin White has requested a trade per Jenna Lane. He plays for the Buccaneers, was on the Super Bowl winning team with Tom Brady. What do you think about that? And where do you think he'll end up?
I mean, I feel like Tampa is struggling a lot recently with trying to obtain players, but I feel like that's what happens when you try to buy a Super Bowl. I feel like they just got a lot of players and then just kind of maxed out cap, and then they had to let it go of a bunch of players, and now we don't really know where Tampa Bay is going to land in the standings this coming year. We really don't know. We don't know how it's going to go. But no matter what happens, Devin White requests that trade, and now we move on to see what happens there. I mean, I feel like it'll definitely hurt Tampa in some aspects, whether they use him as depth or if they use him as a starter or whatever the plan was for this coming season. It's still going to hurt them because a loss is a loss, no matter however way you put it for a team. Any type of loss is a loss that you have to replace. So, but I think Devin White, I mean, we talked about it briefly before the show. I mean, I think, Bills, I think Eagles, Vikings, I think a lot of these places could use a linebacker or just like a team might just want him for depth or just to add to a super mega team. So if there's a, like if maybe he won't get traded immediately, but let's say like halfway through the season, maybe like a San Francisco 49ers are like 6-0 or something. They just want a linebacker just for the fun of it. They might trade for him and then, get a nice trade for him. And then they're just going to like try to stack their team. But I think that he would get traded before then, but I don't think it'll be around the draft. I really don't know. I mean, I know there's a lot of teams that are like, that are dealing with like players requesting trades and like trading around the draft. I don't know if Devin White's going to be one of the people that are going to be, given up in the trade. Because don't get me wrong, Devin White's good, but also I feel like a lot of players could be like, or a lot of teams could be like, well, I'm not going to trade you this first round pick for Devin White when I can draft a linebacker in the first round, and a lot of these guys are good, or even in like the mid second rounds, because there's a lot of like second and third round sleeper gems that I think per se that a lot of these teams could draft that I've talked about on different mock drafts, and whether it was with you or just in general. So yeah.
I think it depends what the Buccaneers want for Devin White. Devin White is a former first-round pick from the 2019 draft. He also has experience. He's never really been considered bad in my memory. I think he's a good linebacker. The one team that I think would really kind of put more in for him than the other teams is the Buffalo Bills, because the Buffalo Bills have, for the last like 5 years, or not really 5 years because that would be Josh Allen's rookie year, but 3 to 4 years, have said, like, we are the Super Bowl contender. We're right there. We're going to get it. We're going to be in the Super Bowl this year. And then they always fall short, whether it's against the Bengals or against the Chiefs. For what they've just haven't been able to make it. I think they really want to make it to that game. They just lost Tremaine Edmonds to the Bears. So getting another linebacker, yes, maybe Devin White, you have to trade him a little bit more than you want. But if you get to a situation on draft night where the linebacker you were looking for is gone, and you've got this guy, he's a former first rounder. He is good. He's proven himself. So I'm kind of the opinion draft picks can be overrated sometimes. They can, and I know Joe Camo disagrees with me on this, of the Cardinal rule. He's got his stats and like what each draft pick is worth, and that's fine. But I personally would much rather have a guy who I know the way he plays. I know that he's proven. I know what he's like on the field, than saying like, okay, I know what this guy was like in college, and I know what his tape shows me, and I know these things, but I don't know what he's going to be like in an NFL setting. So if I'm the Bills and I really only need a few like minor things to plug in place to get to the Super Bowl, presumably, maybe you do go all in on Devin White. Fill that position with an experienced guy, with a guy who has knowledge of the position and the NFL, and has already played in a Super Bowl and won.
Mm-hmm.
So I think that's why I think the Bills go for it. Eagles could be another team that's like that. They made it to the Super Bowl last year and fell short, but I don't know that they necessarily have the fatigue. I guess I can't really think of a better word, but I'd got to think that the Bills are starting to get fatigued of every year being said they're Super Bowl contenders and then not making it.
Yeah, not even making it close. Like, yeah, it's either first or second round exits every single year. And
you've got Stephon Diggs with the Bills. He's getting older. You've got that clock ticking. The Eagles don't really have that clock ticking as much. No. Their best players are all young. You've got A.J. Brown is one of their oldest players on offense, and he's a 2019 rookie. Aside from like your linemen like Lane Johnson and Jason Kelsey, they're older, but as far as your skill positions, they're all very young, talented guys. They're in Philadelphia. So I think the Bills might end up going for Devin White just to kind of make a desperate swing at the Super Bowl, try to get past the Bengals and the Chiefs and whoever else becomes a threat in the AFC. But we'll have to see. We don't know for sure. I think there's going to be a lot of trades on draft night.
Yeah, I mean, I definitely think there's going to be a lot of trades, but for what, I don't know, and when. Like, I don't know if they're all going to be in the first round, because I believe, what is it? Night one is just round one, right?
Yep.
Yeah, and then night two is 2, 3, 4, and then day 3 is 5, 6, 7. So I think there would probably be a lot more trades day 2, just because 2, 3, 4. Because I think there's going to be maybe a couple trades in round one, but I feel like 2, 3, 4 is going to be a lot more, just because not only do you have a lot more rounds, but also you have, second rounds are very important. You can still get some really good picks in the third round and even the fourth round. 5th, 6th, and 7th is just kind of like whatever's left over, fill some depth positions, and if any of them end up being a lot better than we expected, it's a win. So,
like Brock Purdy.
Yeah, exactly. Brock Purdy was a depth position, and he ended up being better than what they expected. Absolutely, Mr. Irrelevant. They just pick him. They're like, okay, we'll try. And the next thing you know, it's a great story for Brock Purdy. So, but and Murray agrees too. So
Murray's a Brock Purdy fan.
Yeah, Murray really likes Brock Purdy. When I was talking about Brock Purdy, he was getting really loud. I don't know if you could hear it on my end, but he's getting really loud. But yeah, I think a lot more trades will happen on 2, 3, and 4 rounds.
I think the linchpin is Lamar Jackson.
Yeah, you know what? It'd be funny if Lamar Jackson gets really happy about Odell and then gets traded away.
Well, because hey, if he wants to stay in Baltimore, I feel like he has control of that. He can sign the franchise tag.
Yeah, but would he want to stay in Baltimore?
That's the thing. And if he gets traded to the Colts, then the Colts don't need to draft a quarterback. They can trade back. Someone else can trade up. We've got Lamar is going to call. If Lamar gets traded day 1 of the draft, I fully expect to see 5 other teams all trade and the draft to get rearranged, because the Colts are going to be like, cool, we've got our quarterback. We don't need a quarterback now. We'll go and get a receiver, but we don't need to be at spot 4 for that. Cardinals are probably going to trade back because they don't need a quarterback. They could probably trade back to 4 and still get Will Anderson. So
yeah, something like that.
I expect to see lots of trades this draft. I feel like we had a lot of trades last draft that we weren't expecting, and this draft I'm expecting to see way more. But we will see. That's the way it goes in the NFL. Sometimes crazy stuff happens. That's why we love it. That's why we watch. That's why we support the teams that we do. Still waiting on the T. Higgins news, though. T. Higgins is
I thought that was going to come out over the last couple of days, and nothing happened.
You know what I'll tell you what happened here. So, quick rundown because we're almost out of time. So
I'm lagging again. So
there's this guy Zim Hude on Twitter who he's kind of a controversial fan. I don't really want to get into that aspect of it, but he's usually pretty factual when he tweets stuff. And he said the deal is done. Expect it to be announced in the next 24 hours. And I think that was Monday, and nothing has come out. And T. Higgins' mom, who we know what her Twitter account is, she's very active on Twitter. She quoted that tweet and then put the eye emoji, what do you know that I don't type thing. So people are like, does this mean she doesn't know that it's been done, or has it not been done?
Yeah.
And so, but then the eye emoji got deleted. And so we're all just kind of sitting around like, oh shoot, okay, is T. Higgins got his contract signed or not? This is big news. We're waiting. You know what the Bengals social media team did?
What?
You know what they did? They started posting highlights of T. Higgins, and they started posting wallpapers of T. Higgins, all these posts of T. Higgins. So I'm expecting something soon, but they're definitely aware of what they're doing, because they weren't posting all these highlights of T. Higgins a week ago. And it's interesting that it's T. Higgins and not Jamar Chase, or it's only T. Higgins. We're only hyping up T. Higgins this week. So I love the Bengals social media team, but they're just teasing us at this point. But fully expect some news to come out about T. Higgins soon. Hopefully we get the Joe Burrow extension soon as well. I've seen it predicted to be a $214 million 4-year contract. I'd like to see it 6 to 8 years. Personally, get him locked down, but we'll see what happens. That's my piece. I'm all done for the day. I don't know, Chus, you got anything more you've got to say?
Not really, no. I mean, as we grow closer, though, it is April 13th. So we're 2 weeks out from draft? Just about 2 weeks. Because the first draft night is the 28th?
29th, I think. I don't know. You told me, because I thought it was earlier, and
yeah, I'm pretty sure it's the 28th through the 30th, but I could be wrong.
It is the 27th through the 29th. I knew the 29th was in there somewhere.
Okay, so yeah, 27th.
We are 2 weeks exactly till draft day.
Yeah, so and I think we should cover a lot of that.
when the tight end Michael Mayer becomes a Cincinnati Bengal, Austin Eckler becomes a Cincinnati Bengal, Joe Mixon gets cut, and Saquon comes to the Bengals. I've got this all worked out in my head. We're going to be good. Heck, we might even sign Zeke for a $3 million deal to be our running back 3. Why not?
Yeah, and the Steelers are gonna trade and get they're gonna trade off and get Jordan Addison, and then we're gonna cut Deontay Johnson, and then we're gonna make a trade with.
You just paid Deontay Johnson.
So yeah, but we're gonna get rid of him anyway. We're gonna trade him away. We're gonna get Stephon Diggs from Buffalo in exchange for Deontay Johnson straight up. And then that's going to be our wide receiver core. And then we're going to move Najee Harris to running back 2. We're going to trade Jalen Warren in exchange for Dalvin Cook. Even though he's not on the trading block, we're just going to trade for him. We're going to trade for Dalvin Cook.
Dalvin Cook is on the trading block.
Okay, well, we're going to get Dalvin Cook. It's going to be Dalvin Cook and Najee Harris. And then we're going to get Jason Kelsey. We're going to get a bunch of more top linemen. And then in the backfield, we're going to get we're going to have, Minka. We're going to have TJ Watt. We're going to have just a star-studded defense. We're going to get Chase Young, and you're going to be scared.
I'm not going to be scared. This is the fun of the draft. We have no idea what's going to happen. Other than the Bengals are going to have 3 RB1s to match their 3 wide receiver 1s. Anyway, thank you for listening to today's show. If you enjoyed, please remember to like, comment, and subscribe. We can be found anywhere you listen to podcasts and on YouTube at No But Show. Our social media.
Wait.
Oh my gosh.
I have one more thing to say.
Okay.
Drake Bell from Drake and Josh is missing.
That is true. Drake Bell is missing.
Please keep him in your thoughts and the hope and belief that he is okay.
Pray for Drake Bell's safe return. A anchor point in so many of our childhoods.
Yes, no matter what he has done in the past, I don't want to see anything bad happen to him.
Yeah, that's true. That's right. Anyway, our social media pages are NoButts_show on Instagram and No Butts Show on TikTok. My Twitter is Josh_Butts_2001. And if you would like to reach us, you can email us at bullmoosepodcast2. That's the number 2 at gmail.com. Finally, our spread shop where you can get all the cool merch. Chus, he's still got the hat. I was going to say he had it on last time, but he's still got the hat on. It says, let somebody cook. I'm sure he's going to be yelling that at some team this season, probably the Washington Commanders when they start subbing out Jacoby Brissett and Sam Howell. Maybe that new ownership doesn't do that, though, but we'll see. Anyway, you can go get that hat in the spread shop. The link will be in the description of both the YouTube video and the podcast audio link. So check out the merch. There's shirts. There's anything you can think of. I think there's a cooking apron on there. It says, let somebody cook. You can wear it for your barbecues this summer. I got you. I got the hookup for you. Once again, if you enjoyed today's show, like, comment, and subscribe. Until next time, go do something nice for someone.